Welcome to Talkin VAWLS, episode number 29. We are at Talkin VAWLS _pod. That's TALKIN VAWLS _pod on Facebook and Twitter. But also you may be listening to this on YouTube. So do us a favor, drop down, hit that like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe. But also breaking news, we are available on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcast needs. But if this is the first time listening to Talkin VAWLS, we post new episodes every week during the football season with an occasional bonus episode here and there. We don't claim to be experts. We don't claim to have some inside connection or breaking news. We're just three dudes that love the Vols. We sit down, we chat about it just like we're, I don't know, on any other day. So sit down, pour a cold beer for the working man, and let's get into Talkin VAWLS. My name is Boogie Bentley.
I'm Vols JP.
And I'm Armaine.
Here we are, boys, after a couple of weeks of spring practice. Saturday, 2 p.m. on the SEC Network. The Vols just divided up. I love the way Pruitt said it. We're going to divide up, we're going to line up, and we're going to play football. And that's just what they did. The orange and white game. Perfect day for football in front of a controversial number, 65,000 fans inside Neyland Stadium. I saw some stuff I liked, saw some stuff I didn't like. We've got some concerns. JP, what did you take away from the orange and white game, highs and the lows?
Well, I thought the crowd looked good. I was impressed
Why was it so controversial?
I don't know. It's the Knoxville media.
It is.
I mean, they like to keep that stuff stirred up. I saw where Himes claimed they was about 20,000 less than what they announced, is what he claimed. But from TV, it looked like that lower bowl was pretty full.
Yeah,
and a few here and there in the top. We're all talking. We got to get back in the groove. JP, got to get back into it. Highs and the lows.
I thought looked like JG took some steps forward this spring. Thought there was a couple of throws that he threw right there on a dime. I think it's going to come down to how good the offensive line can pass block for him. I think we got a couple of good running backs. Of course, we got that grad transfer from Michigan State that'll be in. It's got a lot of experience too. So I think we're good there. Marquez Calloway, I think that if the offensive line can give Guarantano some time, I think that Callaway is going to be a star. And I'm really excited about the whole wide receiver core. I think that they've got some depth there, and hopefully Jennings can stay in good graces, because we know what definitely that he can do. Defensive, I hope they were just not showing anything, but just didn't look like they were giving some effort either. So got serious concerns with the secondary, and I think also the defensive line.
What about you, Rock? Highs and lows, your takeaways from the orange and white game this Saturday?
Mine are kind of similar to JP's. I thought Guarantano looked pretty good. I thought he threw the ball pretty well, threw it on a dime. Thought the running backs looked well. I think we've got some playmakers at wide receiver. It looks like if there's just time to get them the ball. I thought tight ends made a couple nice plays along the way. It looked like the line did a decent job. I wonder if part of it's because the defense is not very good. I'm not sure on that, but missed tackles was kind of the lows. The secondary is definitely a concern to me. We still don't. I don't think we have an idea who the corners are going to be right now. We'll see when everybody's out there. There were some good things. There were some things to be worried about, no doubt about it. But the missed tackles, there was kind of some lacking effort. I would agree with Pruitt's assessment on that, but we'll see where it goes once it gets August, once we get more guys in there and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to sit back and really – it's the spring game every year. It's like, how can you really judge? You know, the offense pretty much dominated. So was the offense playing well, or is the defense that bad in Knoxville? I mean, you know, it's hard to say. And then also you've got your two best defensive players standing on the sidelines in Kirkland and Batuli. Which Kirkland, is he going to stay healthy anyway? You don't really know. But talking about that offensive line, that's like the offensive line. Probably stopping the run is my number one concern going into this season. But also that offensive line. Can they protect JG? Will he have time to throw the ball? But what I liked was the play calling. They threw the ball downfield. And it wasn't like you had to sit back in the pocket for 5, 6, 7 seconds. It was kind of a 3-step drop, put some air under the ball, and let guys like Calloway go make plays. And that's what we kept harping on last year when we talked about the offensive line. You don't have to sit back there forever and let a play develop. You can still get the ball downfield with play calling. And I loved it, man. Maybe it's just because 5 years of seeing the same old song and dance. I just love seeing I form. I love seeing getting the ball. I don't know if you want to call them tight ends or fullbacks, but half the time it was a tight end in the fullback position. Getting the ball to them out in the flats and letting them make plays, throwing the ball over the middle. Just so many things that excite me about the future of Tennessee football. That said, I know this is going to be a tough season, but I saw some things to be excited about.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think just seeing a fullback, it's been a long time since we've seen a fullback in an offense down there. So that was kind of exciting to see. Yeah.
Bet you that sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I bet you that we won't line up in shotgun from the one yard line.
No,
that's right. That's right here in my notes. The orange team gets down in the red zone and they run the ball 3 freaking times and score a touchdown. But on the flip side, talking about tackling like Rocky was earlier, Jordan made a guy miss in the backfield. So did he make a guy miss, or can the defense not bring him to the ground? Was that a missed tackle or was that a broken tackle? That's the bad thing about the spring game. But, bottom line is they're inside the 10. They run the football 3 times under center and score a touchdown. That's exciting.
It is.
Well,
why
exciting.
would you, we've seen that for a few years. You line up from the 1, you're basically running from the 8. That's nice to see. I like what they did with the receiver. Like you said, I like they're throwing it deep. Now, that may have been by design and stuff, but still yet, 3 steps and throw instead of last year dropping back and just standing there waiting for 10 seconds. It seemed, they didn't have 10 seconds, but just.
Well, Pruitt talked about it. What did defenses do to Tennessee last year? They stacked freaking 8 guys in the box. And Pruitt talked about it after the game. He said, you're going to put 8 in the box. You have to be able to extend the field. And he talked about JG. I thought JG made some great throws Saturday, some really good throws. But he made some bad throws too. But I think he looked better than I expected. But that said, man, he made some good throws to the outside, gave guys like Calloway a chance to make plays, and that's what you're going to have to do. So, man, I'm excited. I am. I'm excited about it.
I thought that the offense looked better than I was expecting.
Way better than I expected.
I agree.
Yeah, I didn't really expect them to look as good, mainly because of the offensive line. We've been hearing, of course, with Trey Smith out and Kayron Calvert, I think is how he pronounces his name. Where he's been out. I think that he's one that they're counting on, and if we could get lucky enough and get Chance Hall back in there and get some plays, get some play out of him, would definitely shore up some offensive line issues, I believe.
One thing I like about the spring here, you mentioned offensive line, is you've got a couple of the guys coming in already enrolled. They've already been going through the reps and stuff. So,
oh, yeah.
And you got to think they're going to be counted on. So that's valuable experience they're getting Carvin in there and getting Lane in there as well. Carvin's going to play. That's just the bottom line. I'm not saying he'll start, but he's going to play. And then you've got the guy on Nashville coming in, and then you've got the JUCO guy coming in as well. And that JUCO guy, Johnson, he wasn't recruited to come in and take 2 to 3 years to play. He's brought in to play now. So, like I said, you get Trey Smith back, you get Chance Hall back. Maybe maybe it'll be a serviceable offensive line. I mean, it's got to be better than last year. Let's put it that way. So I like you know, I'm like you guys. The line looked much better than I expected. The offense looked much better than I expected. I thought Guarantano looked night and day different from last year. He kind of looked like a deer in the headlights at times last year. He actually looked poised yesterday. So I like that about him.
Yeah, I did too, but I mean, we can get into it now. I was going to do this a little bit later, but talking about Guarantano, do you think he's going to be the starting quarterback, or do you think the kid from Stanford, has a chance to come in and take the job? I don't know. I just want to win, but I don't know who I would really favor in this situation. When you look at the kid from Stanford, I mean, he's a winner. They talked about him some on the broadcast. He's 11-2 as a starter, which, I mean, that's a winner, especially when you're coming off of no SEC wins last year. But on the flip side, he lost the job to a freshman out there in Stanford. So I can't sit here and say I know anything about the kid, other than looking at numbers. But I think it also puts him a little behind to be coming in so late. When did they say he would show up? Sometime
June,
this summer?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about the quarterback situation?
I think it's Guarantano's to lose, honestly, after the way he's looked, and they seem pretty happy with him here in the spring. I expect both guys to play, honestly. I think Guarantano goes in the starter, Chris goes in as the backup, and I think there's a point we could see both of them. Hopefully the line won't get our guys killed where we got to play 4 quarterbacks or something like that. I think the ideal scenario would be those are the 2 guys that play, and you're able to redshirt McBride and what's the other guy? Is it Shout or Stout?
Shroud.
Yeah, it's something like
JT Shroud.
Yeah, I think that's your ideal scenario, that Guarantano and Chris basically get all the playing time, and you can redshirt McBride and redshirt Shroud as well.
Yeah, I think did Pruitt say, I can't remember if it was in the press conference after the spring game, but he said we'll probably know who our starter is around the 4th quarter in Charlotte on September 1st. So, I mean, that pretty much tells you they're probably both going to get some playing time in that first game against West Virginia, which is not going to be an easy football game.
Well, I'm hoping that Guarantano becomes a leader, and if Chris comes in, that he's like, man, this is my job.
Mm-hmm.
I've been down here for 3 years now. This is my job, and I don't know if Chris is that good to take it away from him. I think that Guarantano's got some talent. I think he had crappy coaching. I think we all know that. So, but if I had to bet on it, I'll be shocked if Chris beats him out.
I will too, and I kind of thought going in after that Chris committed to coming to UT, I thought maybe he may come in and take the job, but Guarantano seems to, instead of pouting about it, he's taken it and tried to take a leadership role, and it showed out there too. He was in command, and if he keeps progressing like he did, and like you mentioned, he had bad coaching before. He's got good coaching now. I think Helton's going to be a good offensive coordinator for him, and I don't know it's as complicated as you're not having to get back there and run through all these reads and progressions and all that stuff. You're lining up and you're dropping back and throwing it, if that makes any sense right there. I just think that kind of simplifies it a little bit, yet it's effective. And I'll be really surprised if Guarantano is not the starter when they play West Virginia and Charlotte.
I hope you guys are right, because I'm pulling for him. I mean, he's been here, and again, the bad coaching and the horrible season last year, man, but seems to have kept a positive attitude. He seems to have his head on his shoulders from what you can tell. So, I hope you're right. But talking about the coaching, I like the way they highlighted the coaching staff on the broadcast for the orange and white game. I think one of the announcers even said I would give this a 10 out of 10 for this coaching staff, and they ran down the national championships that this coaching staff has, and
it's impressive.
Yeah, I knew there were some there, but I don't think I realized just how many are on this coaching staff. And that says a lot, you know. I mean, I think everybody on this staff knows what it takes to win. And one of my favorite things about Pruitt, man, is he doesn't give a damn. He does not give a damn. We were talking about it right before we went on, him kind of ripping on the fan base a little bit. If he hurts your feelings, good. Get over it. I didn't go to the orange and white game. Did I have a good excuse? Nah. I wanted to stay home, kind of hang out, went to the gym, sat around. I was lazy all afternoon. But whatever. I don't care. It didn't hurt my feelings. I loved his attitude. His post-game press conference was probably one of the best ones I've seen. And I don't know if it was just that great or if it was just refreshing, because I've enjoyed all of his press conferences this spring. And, you know, I liked what he said about some of the guys showed up and they rose to the occasion, and other guys just flat out quit. And I don't remember which reporter it was that asked him, well, how do you handle this situation, you know, in regards to the quitters? And I loved it, man. I loved what he said. He said, you confront them. You put them on blast is basically what he said, and we're gonna weed them out, and that's what it's going to take. And he may piss a lot of people off in the process, and we all know, all three of us know, that this season is going to be tough. I think 6-6 in a bowl game is a great season, but it's going to, golly, I almost said it's a process. Sweet Jesus, don't let me say it's a process. But just in addition to that, they interviewed Fulmer in the second quarter, and he said they expect to win every game, but they realize they're a couple of years away. And this sounds like something JP would say. He said they've got to recruit players that look like the guys at Georgia and Alabama. And it is what it is, boys. They're a couple of years away, but I'll be damned if I don't love Pruitt already.
Well, I mean, that's a true thing. You've got to recruit those players. You can't be going up against Syracuse, Middle Tennessee, Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Nothing, you know, I know those teams beat Tennessee last year, but you can't be going,
exactly.
You know, you can't be battling it out against lower Power 5 teams all the time. I mean, you've got to go compete, and we saw it with the last recruiting window. I mean, signing day didn't turn out how they liked, and I liked that Pruitt he wasn't happy about it. He didn't.
I don't think he's ever happy. Ever.
No, I mean,
and that's what I love. I think he's pissed off all the time.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't beat around the bush about it. He said that's not what we expect to do down here. So, yeah, they're going to go after those guys, and that's what you got to have. I mean, you've got to. And, you know, you've got to be able to find these guys that aren't highly recruited, that are pretty good ball players. Every team does it. They find those lower-ranked guys that can help. But you don't want a class full of projects, basically. And, yeah, they've got the right mindset down there. And I like the fact they said they come out expect to win every game, because I got the feeling with Jones that they were beat before they took the field a lot of times before, and that drove me nuts.
Well, what did Butch Jones say from what he said from the beginning? He was trying to buy himself time from the beginning. You know, Fulmer was a little bit more realistic about it, talking about the rebuilding process and a couple of years away in recruiting and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Pruitt has never led on to that. Pruitt has been nothing but hard-nosed from the beginning and expects to win every football game. He's not trying to buy himself time and calling it. Yeah, he's not calling this year zero and this, that, and the other. He knows what it takes to win.
That's why that he's so hard on these kids. Or, you know, I don't know how hard he is as far as
he's hard. But, fun time's over. I think they said fun time's over.
You know, I mean, he's down there to win football games, and that's what I want. You know, I don't care if he ever does a darn press conference. I could care less. You know, he wins football games and we compete for championships. I don't care if I ever hear him speak. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I'm the same.
But you know, that's what he keeps on saying over and over and over, is this program, and there's a bunch of players down there that they don't know how to compete. And that's just a reflection of the prior coaching staff and the way that it was handled. But he's going to have to change that. And it's not going to be pretty. I'm sure that there's a lot of them down there that's been like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can handle this. And I'd say that we'll probably see some transfer out now that spring practice is over with. And that's the best thing, because you don't want players that's not going to buy in or is not willing to do the things that that coaching staff is asking of. I support Pruitt. I'm not buying in as far as buying no T-shirt, just Pruitt and all that stuff. I'm not.
Oh my gosh, I've already got one in the closet, man. My wife bought it for me.
I don't think that's Pruitt. I don't think that he'd want any of us to have those shirts. So, but I think that if this coaching staff is given some time, I think that their pedigree, I think that their track record proves that that they can coach football. But it does come down to what kind of horses that they can bring in, and that's going to be the key thing. And I think Pruitt acknowledged that signing class was not what he expected, and that's not what's going to cut it. He's going to have to get these kids, but the problem is you're trying to sell a 0-8 SEC team to these kids that are also have an opportunity to go to Alabama and Georgia that just played for the national championship. Both of them did. So what do you do there? That's a tough sell.
Well, what I love about it is I'm willing to give him a free pass on that first recruiting class, because it was a tough deal. The timing, the early signing period, all that stuff. He had a tough deal coming in, but he's not making excuses.
Well, no,
it's not acceptable. I'm willing to give him a pass, but he's not going to take that free pass, and that's what I like about him. Talking about buying in, I've already bought in. I bought in. We talked about it towards the end of last season that we weren't going to do it until they started winning football. I'm all in. I love this guy. But some players that have bought in, obviously we've already talked about Guarantano, and he was the MVP of the orange and white game. But, a lot of praise from Pruitt around Kyle Phillips. He was the most improved defensive player, but also Eli Wolf, most improved offensive player. And I thought he showed some signs of potential in the orange and white game. I like the way they did utilize the tight end position a little bit more. But what I want to ask you guys is give me one player. Who do you think can be a breakout player in this new offense? And I think all three of us might say the same guy, but I'm going to let you guys go first.
We don't know about offense?
I'll let Rocky go first. He hadn't talked in a while. Yeah, on the offense. On the offense. We can go both. Let's pick an offensive player and a defensive player, and we'll talk about it.
Offensive player that breaks out, I'm probably going to go with Chandler on it. I think him. I think Calloway really has a chance too. I mean, we texted about it yesterday, how he would carry him for a couple games and then you wouldn't see him for a while. That would probably be my two picks off the top of my head. Defense, breakout player. We've heard a lot about Sapp. I think Sapp may be a guy, him or gosh, I don't know. Besides that, maybe, I don't know if you call Warrior. I think Warrior has a chance to be really good in this defense too. That would be my picks off the top of my head.
I probably shouldn't have said breakout player. That makes it a little bit tougher to say. I think Warrior will be good too. I'm really worried about kick returns, but Warrior back there, I don't know. Why do you think that Jordan got so many carries on offense versus Chandler? I thought Jordan got the majority of the carries.
Chandler got quite a few too, though.
Yeah, I think I'm making this up. I don't have anything in front of me. It seems like Jordan may have got 11, 12 carries, and Chandler
was about the
8 or
same
9.
because I know at one point he was 11 carries for 53, and Jordan was like 9 for 57. So I think they were pretty equal.
I thought Jordan got more carries. I guess I just expected Chandler to get more of the load. But I thought they both looked good. I was impressed with Jordan.
I was too.
Like I thought Chandler was just going to be the guy. But I was impressed with Jordan on Saturday. I thought he looked really good, and I like having that 1-2 option. You kind of worry about what's going to happen this year. Is Chandler going to have to be the guy? But I like seeing Jordan coming in and being able to relieve Chandler when we get into SEC play. One guy can't carry the load.
Well, and you got to think, too, and JP mentioned earlier, you've got the guy from Michigan State coming in, and he's a big running back, too. That's more of what they're liking there. He'll factor in, and I'm curious to see the Banks kid out of Memphis that's coming in. He's pretty good size, too, so I'm curious to see how he factors in as well. I don't know if he was hurt, but Trey Coleman, I don't ever remember seeing him in there yesterday. He may be gone for all I know. I don't know, but I don't know if he's hurt, but I didn't see him.
They actually said that he was 4th on the depth chart behind Princeton Fant, who they've moved all over the field.
I don't remember seeing Fant get any carries.
Well, I guess he was on the white team.
I remember seeing him on kickoffs.
Second team offense.
I remember seeing him on kickoffs. I can't remember seeing him on getting any carries, but
the white team did absolutely nothing running the football.
No.
Nothing.
Well, that's concerning considering that's the second team offensive line.
Yeah. When you look at depth, you got to be able to do something.
Yeah. Well, a lot of your guys that were playing first team yesterday probably not going to be starters if Trey Smith and Hall and some of those guys are back. So
we hope.
Yeah, you're right. We hope.
Well, the same goes for that first team defense too, though, with Batuli and Kirkland, and they even asked Pruitt about it in the press conference. Can those two guys make that much of an impact? And he said, well, when you're playing 11 on 11 and you put a hat on a hat, and that defense, can Kirkland make a guy miss and make a tackle? Sure, it makes a difference. Makes a huge difference. Especially, like I said, I think that's the two best players. Maybe you could throw Warrior in that mix on the defense. In my opinion, I mean that's my opinion.
Yeah,
I think Kyle Phillips has a chance to have a really.
Yeah,
good
he's
year.
in the mix. He's in the mix. I agree with that.
Breakout players. I'm going to say Guarantano. I think maybe that him and Helton is starting to click. It just seemed like that he was more comfortable. I think last year that the whole deal with him and Dormady, I think that Jones brought a lot of that on, playing favoritisms and probably all the promises that he done to both of those players. And I think that caused we know it did, just a lot of issues. And I think that got in Guarantano's head. But he just looked a lot more relaxed, and like Armaine said, he was in charge. Looked like he was more poised. Didn't have maybe so much of that cockiness that he kind of had some there last year. Looked to be just more dialed in to what he was doing. So I'm gonna go with him as a possible breakout player. Defense. I said Phillips. I think he's got a chance, but I'm really excited about Nigel Warrior, that number 18 back there, returning kicks. Reminded me of his dad. I'll go out on a limb right now and say that Nigel Warrior is going to house a kickoff return this year. It might be against ETSU, but he's going to take one to the house.
A touchdown's a touchdown, baby. I'm just going to kind of piggyback on both y'all, man. I think Warrior's the guy on that defense. I hope a guy like Batuli. I'd love to see Kirkland have a big year. Can the guy stay healthy? That's the question. But I think Warrior. I think what was he, second on the team in tackles last year? So calling it breakout is probably a bit of a stretch. But I hope he leads the defense. I hope he makes some plays. And on offense, man, I'm going with Calloway. I think I think, man, he made some big time catches Saturday. He did that. The fade in the end zone. What a play! What a catch! It wasn't that great of a throw, but he went up and got it with one hand. What a play! What a catch! And I think he just has that big play potential. I think he's a football player, and I think he's going to have the potential to get the ball. Opportunities, man, opportunities. Pruitt talked about it. The quarterback's got to do a better job putting the ball out there. He's talked about being a defensive coordinator. You see him throw the ball out of bounds. Well, that's a win for the defense without even trying. So, got to keep the ball in bounds, give him a chance to make plays. I think Calloway has the chance to have a big year. Anything else you guys want to add about the orange and white game, or do you want to talk about the schedule for next year? I don't know.
What did y'all think about them talking about Juwan Jennings and how that Pruitt had claimed that he had done more than what they'd even asked of, and that it was that Pruitt even felt like that it was probably more than what they thought that he could do.
I thought that was pretty
I thought that was pretty impressive.
I think that kid was built up full of frustration, just like every one of us were full of it and sick of it and so ready to move on, and he made a mistake. You know, can you imagine if social media was like it is now back in the day, how many people would have got in trouble with it? You know what I mean? Like, it's a different time and day now with social media. And I think he was just frustrated and made a mistake. And I'm not defending it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that's what happened. He shouldn't have done it, and he did it. But let's move on. I'm ready to get him back on the team. And, you know, seeing him out there, he was fired up at the ball walk, man. He was ready to rock and roll. Even though he didn't get a play, he was fired up. And so hearing that's encouraging, and hopefully he'll be a big contributor this year. Man, the kid's a baller. He's a freaking dog.
Well, I mean, he should have never been kicked off to begin with, in my opinion. I can understand suspending him, but an interim coach and
I think it was the timing of the coaching staff and everything.
An idiot
that was going
AD. I mean, they didn't have any business kicking. I understand. I guess I do, but I think he should have been suspended. But I thought that was pretty interesting that they set the standard really high, and he's beat that. I think that's a positive because, you know, like we said, we know what he can do, and you know, you take away. I think they've got some playmakers on offense coming out of that. I really do, and I think that's one reason Taylor was moved to secondary, possibly, is because they know they've got some guys at wide receiver that can make some plays.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, what they start out with Taylor saying he was going to have 2, 3, 4 practices on defense, and then they're like, no, they just kept extending it. And I think that's where he's going to stay.
I wouldn't be surprised if he starts because, I mean,
I wouldn't either.
What do they have back there? I mean, I don't see how he moves back. Honestly, I've seen something where it said he really wants to play receiver, but I don't see it happening.
They have some playmakers at receiver. They really do. When you look at their receiver, I think they've got some talent there, man. I really do.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, you've got Jennings, you got Calloway, you got Johnson, who's normally pretty solid. Palmer, if Palmer gets consistent catching, I think he can be a good player. He'll make a good play, and then he'll drop one.
I think it was Palmer that made a freaking – it wasn't a great catch. I mean, it was simple, but across the middle and just took off with it. But like you said, consistency is his problem. You know, dropping balls in the end zone, just it is what it is.
Well, you saw we saw there at the end when McBride threw that touchdown. It was to Latrell Williams across the middle. Man, when he got it, he took off. And we've heard about his speed, but he's never been healthy. And you know, based on it, he looks like a guy that might be able to make some plays. But you know,
and they haven't had a coach that throws the ball over the freaking middle in 5 years. So, how much that opens up the field is, I can't comprehend how you do not use a tight end and you do not throw the ball over the middle.
One thing I thought that I like this spring is that normally, and it's even been the case during the season, players are dropping like flies. Well, this spring it seems like kept getting guys back instead of losing them. I thought that was a positive. I mean, all we heard about Chance Hall's career is probably done. Well, no, it doesn't look like it is done either. And I just like the fact that it didn't seem like there were injuries. And I don't know if that's by coincidence, but I don't think it is. I think we got a strength and conditioning coach that's getting the right results now. Now, I think that's going to make a big difference right there.
It's got to. It's got to. I mean, not to even talk about the prior coaching staff, but, you know, we know how they just disregarded the strength and conditioning program after two years down there.
Yeah, once Lawson left, the strength and conditioning went
unbelievable.
Went down the tubes there.
Yeah, which, you know, is just mind-boggling. But I guess we can't have this post-spring practice podcast without talking about Pruitt's comment.
About the fans?
About the, yeah. I mean, it's got everybody torn up.
I couldn't care less. We talked about a little bit of it off air. I do not care. I don't care what he says. Just win football games, and it'll all take care of itself.
I mean, he could. It's like I told you, he could have called me out personally by name. I don't care. Just as long as I see progression and he wins games, I don't care. Vol fans need to take their pacifiers out of their mouths. And I understand if you're skeptical, if you're waiting to get on board, but man, quit being a bunch of babies. Good grief. I don't care. It's just something to complain about. You know, if you don't like it, then do something about it. Either go support them or hit the road. That's
when I sit back and look at it, it's a pretty stupid comment. It's a freaking spring game that means absolutely nothing. You see these other teams playing on ESPN, the SEC network, and there's nobody there. I'm talking, they showed the Mississippi State game. There was nobody in the crowd. And Tennessee, you know, there's the controversy about the number. That bottom level was pretty dang full. So it had to be around 60,000. If I was just guessing, you know, some people said 40,000, some said 65,000. Regardless, that's a freaking solid turnout for a spring game with a clock that's not stopping. Come on, give me a break. But on the flip side, I'm a big boy. You can say whatever you want. I don't give a damn. I'll be here when the green flag drops and we kick the football off for real. So whatever.
Well,
didn't affect me in any way.
I think that it was probably not the best decision to bring the fans in on it, but I really think that he was trying to compare it to some of the players. And
and when you look at the full quote, you see that.
Yeah, because, you know, he's saying some of the players were here and some of the fans were here, but we need everybody. We need everybody. Pruitt's not the used car salesman. You know, he's a no-nonsense guy. Has that, you know, that crazy accent and probably got some redneck in him and, you know, that type of stuff. But the guy's a football coach, and, you know, I'm going to give him an opportunity because he's got a good track record as an assistant coach. So, I mean, I don't care what he says. I can see why there's some fans that are pissed about it because the way that the program has basically just crapped on the fan base for the last 10 plus years. I mean, I can certainly see that. So I think if he probably had it to do over, and I'd say Fulmer's probably already talked to him about it, that he probably wouldn't have used that type of analogy to say really that we need everybody, fans included. But I really think that that's what he was trying to say. He was trying to compare it to, we've got some players that are willing to play, that are willing to be out here and to see us grow this program and bring it back, and we need the fans too.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And like I said, when you look at the full quote, you see that. But as a spring game, get over yourself. You're not. What do you expect? A sellout for the spring game? It's just not going to happen. It ain't going to happen.
Well,
Game meant nothing.
Just think about it. I mean,
they'll play an ETSU or a freaking whoever, and that place will be packed. That's just the way it is.
Well, that team just finished 4-8, 0-8 in SEC, the worst season in program history, 121 or 122 years, whatever it is, and they still get 60. You know, even if it wasn't 60,000, say it was 50,000. I mean, you know, that's
I'd love
more
to see
than,
that compared to other schools. I'd love to have the numbers for the spring games across the country and see where Tennessee ranks, because I bet it's near the top.
I think they were 4th or 5th.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Games.
Coming off of a season where you went 0-8 in SEC play, and you're in the top 5 in the country in spring game attendance. Come on, give me a break.
Well, and one more comment on this Pruitt deal. You know, there's already people talking about whining about how he's not giving information and how he's not, you know, giving out any compliments to these players and stuff.
Good.
But that's the same ones that were you know, complaining about Jones and all of his analogies and all his BS that he was spewing out of his mouth. So which way do you want it?
They're going to complain. You've got your fans.
No matter
That's the
what.
way it is.
If he comes up and goes 14-0 and wins the national title next year, people will complain. It's just the way it is.
I hope he does it, and he's still pissed off and says they didn't execute perfectly. That's what I want. I want football coaches to never satisfied.
That's what
just
Saban
always
does.
pissed off. Yes, and he's the freaking, what I would say, probably the best college football coach of all time. Good. Be pissed off all the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's – if you let up on them, you see what's going to happen. Jones let up a couple years ago. The expectations got high. He let up, and that undid him right there. I mean, that was his down. I mean, he wasn't a good coach, obviously, but when he let up on him, when he let Lawson go, the program went in a downward spiral like there. So, yeah, I like it. I like it. He's holding them accountable. You know, if they don't like it, it's get in or get out, basically. And like I said, I'm like you, Boogie. I have no problem with what he said about the fans. The fans have done they've been very loud for the last year and stuff. Get over it. Get over it and support them if you don't like it. I mean, you've raised all this hell for the last year. Get over it. I mean, that's the bottom line. If you didn't like it, then show up or get out. And I know we've all supported them through the tough years and all that. You know, just get over it, guys. Just plain as that.
Well, you know, none of us want to be back in this situation where we're sitting here saying, you know, it's going to take us a couple of years, hopefully, to be able to compete and blah, 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 because we've heard this about 3 times now in the last 10 years, you know, which Pruitt's not saying it, but we all know, or if you're a Tennessee fan and you expect Tennessee to come out this year and win 8 to 10 ball games, I got news for you. You probably just need to just go ahead and jump off the cliff.
Well, that's the problem. People out there, they don't have a realistic view of what's going on in that program. Like, I get so sick of people outside the program, Florida fans, Alabama fans, and they're laughing. Oh, Tennessee's rebuilding. Well, yeah, they are. If you had half a brain, you would realize what happens when you replace a coach. Or, you know, Josh Dobbs saved Butch Jones's job. He did.
Yep.
No matter what you want to say about it, you know, we argued about it all the time on this podcast. It is what it is. Josh Dobbs saved his job. He saved Butch Jones. He bought Butch Jones an extra year. And we didn't know what was going to happen going into that last year, but it is what it is. And this is a rebuilding process, and it's a freaking vicious cycle, and it sucks. But reality is reality. 6-6, in my opinion, is a good season. And if you – but I think that's the problem. I think the fans out there, they don't comprehend it. They can't wrap their head around it. And they just think, like you said, that they're going to come out and win 8 or 10 ball games this year. Then they get pissed off, and it all starts over.
Well, I just think if you want to look at any evidence that there's a rebuild, look at all the position changes. That's not a normal year right there. You're that many position changes, moving guys around to see where they can build depth and stuff. I mean, that's not an ideal scenario right there. That told me all I need to know about the state of the roster when all these position changes happen. I mean, that tells me right there they do not have what they need, or else. I mean, you always see a guy move, 1 or 2 move, but not the amount that's moved this off season, this spring. I mean, it does. That shows me right there where the roster is right now. And it's,
yeah,
you know, there's some good players down there, but there's not a lot of depth. And you know, like the last 2 years, we can't afford to lose the top guys. And I think it's good that he's moving guys around to build some depth, because you may need it. It's a tough conference, and there's a 5-game stretch there. It's going to be absolutely brutal. And you got to be ready.
I think also moving those folks around in spring practice, I think to me that shows that this coaching staff, that they have confidence that they can, you know, move people and see where they can get the most out of them. I don't think that we'd have seen that with well, I don't think we did with the Dooley staff or the Jones staff. So, you know, I think that it just shows the type of coaches that Tennessee has now. I think that we've definitely got the coaches in the right place. It is going to take time. Pruitt, he's never been a head coach, but he certainly won at a very high level as an assistant coach and a coordinator. So I'm ready for September 1st. Let's go.
Yeah, but you're talking about Pruitt winning. What I like, again, going back to the staff, is it's not just Pruitt, it's across the board. They all know what it takes to win, and not just win, but win a national championship. You know, when you've been on a staff, when you've seen, and again, going back to Nick Saban, as much as I hate to say it, the guy, he knows what it takes to win. And when you've coached under him and you've seen that, or Pruitt's been to Florida State, he knows what it takes to win. And I think that's why when he comes out and he talks about guys not giving their all and guys quitting, he knows what it takes. And if you're not willing to give that, then hit the damn road and let's move on. And that's why I don't care what he says. I don't care who he pisses off, who wants to cry and who wants to whine. Hit the road and let's find somebody that does want to compete. That's where I'm at.
I mean the bottom line, if he wins games, nobody's gonna remember what he said. That's just plain as that.
Look at Saban's press conferences. That guy's a dickhead. But does any Alabama fan care? No, they don't care.
No, I'm sure there's some of them.
Oh, winning fixes everything.
That's right. I mean, they're ready to. All it took was a national championship win. Anybody that was upset over the Auburn loss or anything he said, they forgot it on that night. And
yep,
you know, Pruitt turns this thing around here, and like you said, a bowl game is a heck of a year, in my opinion. It's a tough schedule, man. I mean, West Virginia, everything I've seen is ranked top 15 preseason. So,
yeah, that is a tough game.
Yeah, and they got a heck of a quarterback. So, we're going to find out if them corners and that secondary is able to handle it or not right off the bat. And then, you know, you get ETSU and you get UTEP, and then after that, it is a brutal 5-game stretch right there. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and Auburn, all within a 6-week stretch right there because there's bye week mixed in. So it gets real in about a month's time. I mean, it gets real right off the bat, but you get a couple weeks kind of iron out the kinks, and then it's go time at that point. And you drop that West Virginia game, you've basically got to win November. You've of course got to win your other 3 non-conference games to get to a bowl.
Well, and that's the thing. You talk about November. November was a cakewalk. November was an automatic win across the board, but now it's not the case anymore. You got Kentucky, Missouri, and Vanderbilt, and you can lose all 3 of those games. It's no longer a guaranteed November. Sure, Charlotte, that's a guarantee. You lose to Charlotte, good Lord, I will jump off a cliff, and I'm just done. That'll be the end. But Kentucky, Missouri, Vanderbilt, who knows what's going to happen in those games? So, golly, man, it's going to be a tough season for the Vols, and you got to be realistic and realize that bowl game is a win. If they finish 6-6 and go to a bowl game, I'll be satisfied.
I mean, the main thing I want to see is progress. I want to see them getting better instead of getting worse
as the year goes on.
Exactly.
Yes, development. But man, when the announcers are sitting there harping on it, talking about, I think they asked what's his name, McElroy, is that his name? A single player on the roster that could start for Alabama, and he sat there tongue-tied for 5 minutes going, maybe Smith, I guess. But then he talked about player development, and he said there's nobody really on this roster that wows you. He said, but the problem is they came here and they never got better. I mean, that tells you everything you need to know when the commentators are beating it in your head. Of course, right here on Talkin Vols, we got you covered. We've been talking about it for 2 years. There is no player development, and that's the good thing about this coaching staff is I think we finally have football coaches that they're not worried about getting out there with microphones and music and being cute and being the center. I'll tell you what I liked. Orange and white game, the last 5 years is Butch Jones out there with a microphone talking and yapping and carrying on. This year, I think it was McBride made a throw. I don't think it was an interception, maybe just a bad decision. And as he was walking off the field, Pruitt wasn't in his face yelling at him or intense. You could tell Pruitt wasn't happy, but it was a coaching opportunity. He was talking to him. They were having a conversation. McBride was talking back. They were discussing it. I picture it being why did you do what you did? McBride saying, well, this is why I did. And then Pruitt saying, well, this is why you don't do that. You know what I mean? It was coaching. That's what, man, I'm excited about is football coaches teaching, correcting, and freaking development. That's what this football team needs.
They do, and I mean that's teaching. Obviously that's what I do for a living. That's what it's about. Why you make a mistake? Well, I did this. Okay, what would you do to correct it?
It's a conversation. Teaching it and bitching at somebody. Teaching is a conversation.
I mean
I'll stop cutting you off
good.
now.
That's it's coachable moments, and this was a good time for it as well. Like I said, my main thing, I want to see progress, and all we have seen for the last few years has been regression. I don't know, maybe a year or two of the Jones era, I thought they were better at the end than at the beginning, but most of the time it didn't feel that way. It felt like they took a step backward. So that's what I want to see. I want to see a team that competes. They don't quit, and like I said, I just want to see them get better. I don't want to see a line an offense at the end of the year that can't even get a yard. Hardly. I made a comment to my wife yesterday with the points. I said, gosh, we've heard Rocky talk more today than we heard it all last season here in the orange and white game, which probably wasn't true, but, boy, it felt like it.
Well, I'll be absolutely shocked if the player development does not improve with this coaching staff.
Good Lord, can it get worse?
Well, I know, but I mean, that's what I'm saying, though. I mean, I'm not saying that, it's way too early to tell whether or not Pruitt will get Tennessee back where the program should be and the fans expect it to be. But I definitely think that we'll see guys get better as they get into the program and as the season and their careers go on. I mean, you just look at, I mean, there's a lot of 4 and 5 star players down there. So, either all of these recruiting services and all these other programs that were after these 4 and 5 star players just totally just whiffed on them, or they saw potential in them and basically they get down to Tennessee and they don't develop. I think it's because there's so many of them. I think it's the lack of development.
There's not, you're always going to have a guy that doesn't pan out. It's going to happen in every class. There's going to be guys that don't pan out. The whole class every year is just not going to be a bust. Like you said, it's the recruiting services aren't always right, but they're not always wrong either. I think the development, it's like I said, we talked about it. It's been horrible. I mean, it has been terrible down there, and I think you'll see. I think there is some talent down there. I'm not saying there's talent loaded, but there is talent down there. I still believe there is. I've thought that for the whole time that Jones was there, that there was talent. You just got to maximize it. You just got to get it out of them.
Well, I think we're nearing the end of this orange and white special edition of Talkin VAWLS. Again, we will post an episode every week during the football season. We'll probably be back a week or two before the season to give our predictions, talk about the preseason and the hype and everything going into this new football season under Coach Pruitt. But give us a follow on Facebook and Twitter. We are at Talkin VAWLS_pod. We're a bunch of hicks. So again, it's at TALKINVAWLS_pod on Facebook and Twitter. If you're listening to this on YouTube, do us a favor, hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. But now we are available on all major podcast platforms, which is huge for us. It's a big deal. I think it gives us an opportunity to grow, but also getting together and recording this podcast, it takes time. It takes commitment. So if you want to help us out, hit us up on patreon.com/TalkinVAWLS_pod. We've got a private Facebook group set up. If you guys want to come in and chat with old Boogie and R Main and Vols JP, we will be monitoring that. We'll chat with you. We'll talk about everything recruiting. JP will have you covered in recruiting. We can talk about whatever y'all want to talk. We can talk about movies for all I care. I don't know. Check it out. It's pretty cheap. Patreon.com/TalkinVAWLS_pod. Guys, you got anything you want to drop on before we get out of here, Armaine? You got any final parting words?
It's the wait. What are we waiting, 5 months now, or three or 4 months?
This is the tough part, man.
Tough part. With that being said, I'm sure when September 1st rolls around, I'll be on here saying, boys, I'm feeling the upset coming this weekend. So here's the
can't wait for predictions.
Looking forward to June when all the new players arrive. I think there's going to be some guys that's going to come in and help the team this year. So excited to see that. And then in the meantime, I'm not going to wish it away. It gets here when it gets here. So just rock and roll, boys.
Keep on rock and rolling in the free world. What about you, Vols JP? Any parting words before we get out of here?
I'm just waiting on the first shirtless pick of the team in the weight room, just to see how big they've got this summer.
That's your parting words? You want to see a bunch of dudes with their shirts off?
Well, it was kind of a joke, but
hey, when you gonna come train jiu-jitsu with me and O.R. Maine? He'll choke you out. He's becoming a killer, man. He's a killer.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to walk for months.
Well, that is going to wrap it up for Talkin VAWLS episode number 29. If you're a first-time listener and you've made it this far, thank you so much for your time. But that's going to wrap it up for R Maine and Vols JP and Boogie Bentley. Go Big Orange.
Kerouac, he drank himself to death in New England, and I'd like to take his hand, say, Jack, man, it's okay. Now he's gone, and we're left to move along on without him. The songs howl like beat poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home. And it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. Black and white headlights pierce the coals, blazing arrows, burning me to the marrow. But fire brings peace as well as it brings fear. You're the only thing I hear, and I want that. The songs howl like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit falls, unbroken past this inundated orb that we call home. And it's night and I'm alone and I'm alive. The dogs howl like me, poets at an arcade, soaking moonlit, smashed and broken in the sea. When we wake up each cold morning and the birds sing their warning.